Okay, students, welcome back to the economic survey, part 2. It's not volume 2, part 2. Okay, students, thanks for your patience because the session is not a 2.5 hour session. It's like a marathon, but not in a single day. We are going to have continuous classes on economic survey because we should cover the volumes, and at the same time we should not consume more time. At the same time, we have to allocate the respective time to each and every topic. So we are going to consume more than the 2 session which has been announced to you, because already we have announced that we are going to have 2 classes. So we are going to have 3 classes. The last class may be 2.5 hours or maybe 3 hours. Okay, that will be informed to you after this class. Okay, you may have the last session, 3rd session by next week, maybe probably Monday or Tuesday, because like that we'll plan and you'll be informed. Okay, students. Now, as usual, students know that every class, when I start the class, I used to do the revision of the previous class if the topic is related. So we are doing the volume 1. Yesterday we had the volume 1. So now I'm going to do a quick revision. Okay, not a detailed revision. Quick revision about the topics which we have learned on yesterday, and then let's get into today's class. Okay, so for those who have not attended the session, this will be useful. For those who attended, so it stays as a recap or revision for the things which you have learned on yesterday. Okay, now we know about the questions which we came across, 10 questions. For part of the questions, you would have got the answer. Remaining questions, we have to wait for the answers in the remaining topics. And then we have started the different chapters. Yesterday, we have learned up to the chapter number 5. Chapter number 1, what the chapter was all about. The chapter's topic was saving lives and livelihoods. So in that topic, we understood that government considered this crisis as a once-in-a-century crisis, validated by the recession across multiple countries. More than 90% of the countries witnessed recession. We took the example of 1930 period, the Great Depression period, and the current period. So they both have the resemblances. Economically, the drop or downturn resembles the same. This makes us to call it as a once-in-a-century crisis. Then we understood about the response taken by the government. Example, government took the measures in such a way that first we have to address the supply side constraints. Then we have to accelerate the demand, which means it won't be yielding, or it won't have any effect if we press the accelerator without removing the brakes. So when the brakes are on, we cannot press the accelerator. So accordingly, government took the measures. So in the angle, we learned about saving lives is more important than focusing on livelihoods, because livelihoods can be revived back after a particular period of time, but that's not the case with the lives. And then we understood that we took the example of Spanish flu, what happened at the time, how it was controlled. In the same way, our government took the measures. So we have learned about all these things in the chapter number 1. Then we went into the chapter number 2. Chapter number 2 was all about what is the right approach for the government. Because now we say that our economy is in a recession. So the government has to act to address the recession. To address the recession, government has to spend. To make the spending, government needs the money. But government is not having the money because government has come across the revenue shortage because of the economic downturn. So the only choice or only the option which is left with the government is borrowing. But when the government plans to borrow, so the government has got a doubt on its mind based on the economic observations in the past. Because when we borrow more, it may lead to the unsustainability in the debt to GDP ratio. So we understood that what is the right debt to debt sustainability ratio. There we understood that as long as we have the growth in our economy, we need not worry about the debt to GDP sustainability ratio. That we understood with the help of the concept called as IRGD, negative IRGD, because we have IRGD in our economy. In IRGD, the growth is higher than the rate at which we are borrowing, which means the interest rate is lower than the growth what we are having in our economy. So we need not worry about the borrowing. Then we understood about what is the right measure, whether the pro-cyclical measure is the right one or the counter-cyclical measure. Pro-cyclical means going along with the wind. When the economy is expanding, what you will do? You will apply the expansionary measures. When the economy is contracting, we will apply the contractionary measures. But counter-cyclical is going against the wind. Because going against the wind or according to the demand. When something is going in the proper manner, or when the economy is expanding, the economy doesn't need the support of the government, which means we won't be supporting the economy. Economy will take care of its need on its own. But next one is when we have to act is only when the economy is undergoing the downturn. At that time, what we may do is we may implement the expansionary policy that is called as counter-cyclical. Then we got into the point, counter-cyclical, will it lead to crowding out in the economy? We understood that no, so not all the time. Sometimes when the expenditures result in productive outputs in the economy, then it will not lead to the crowding out. It may lead to the crowding in the economy. Then we understood about the structure of India, what is India's public debt, when it is compared to the other economies where India stands. For example, took the example of Japan, what is the government debt, what is the private debt, and then with regard to the India's overall debt, what is the central government debt, what is the state government debt. These were the things we covered in the chapter number 2. Okay, just a revision, small revision. Then we got into the chapter number 3, student. What was chapter number 3? So here the government asked a question because recently our country got downgraded. So you know that we got rating agencies like S&P or Moody or Fitch. These are the international agencies which assign rating to the countries according to their performance. But here the government of India is shocked by the rating given by the rating agency because they feel that the rating is not proper. It is biased. That's how our government thinks. Because we got our own right fundamentals. We don't have any credit default history. Because when you assess the country, because what is meant by rating? You are checking at the client or the customer or the country whether do they have the capability to repay the loans or whether they have the willingness. India has got both willingness and has got the ability. Then why you are downgrading India? Then we have got the chances of downgrading if the fundamentals are poor. But India has got right fundamentals. The GDP, controlled inflation, money supply, so the conducive environment for the business. So multiple parameters are supporting India. So what is the method you are following? The method is not objective, it is subjective. Same parameters you are applying for in a different way for the developed countries. But for the developing economies, you are coming with some other points. This we don't accept. Okay, that is the statement given by the government, or that is the answer given by the government to the rating agencies. Now comes the question, why? Sir, why the government is concerned about this rating? Why they are giving the answers and all? Because in the past, we have understood that whatever rating given by the rating agencies did not have any impact on the India. For example, I have shown you some charts. We are on the year of rating, before the year of rating, after the year of rating. We were not having that much impact, even though we had, the impact was minimal. Sometimes the impact was positive. For example, they negatively downgraded, but we would have got some positive outcomes. But there is always the underlying logic. There is always the underlying current of thought running in the economy. What is the current of thought? Sometimes these ratings may be believed by global investors. Global rating agencies, what they may do is, if India gets downgraded, then they will not keep India under their investment profile. So the foreign investors, they won't invest in India. So it will have impact on the foreign exchange flows in our country. Even though the rating does not reflect India's fundamentals, even though our government is not worried, we have the segment of population, those who will worry about the rating. So here government makes a statement through the economic survey, my country has got right fundamentals, the rating what you have given to the country is biased. So they taken the example, the same thing happened to China. When China got into the top 5 slot, India got in top 5 slot, the same thing history repeats. So this is the argument, or this is the answer given by the government through the economic survey. This is about the chapter number 3. Okay, now chapter number 4. What were the things we covered in chapter number 4? In chapter number 4, the heading of the chapter is, what is the connection between the inequality and growth on the socio-economic outcomes? Understand the point, students? What is the connection between the growth and inequality on the socio-economic outcomes? We all know that logically, when there is more growth, or else when a country has got more income, or when a person has got more income, he'll be having more capability. Based on the capability, he'll be having access to the facilities, so he'll be having better outcomes. That is a logical argument, we all know that. But second one is inequality. Imagine that one segment of the population is poor, another segment of the population is rich. So rich will be having more access to all the facilities, so the outcomes will be better for the rich, but that's not the case with the poor people. When you have the inequality, so you won't be having the proper transfer of the socio-economic facilities to the poor people. So that is a normal argument what we have. That is the thing what we have witnessed across the globe. But here, the survey makes a detailed analysis. And now they come out with the answer, with the interpretation. They are saying that, yes, what you say is right. It may happen. It is happening. But we are observing a slight difference in the developing economies, especially in the Indian context. Which means the normal logic is when there is more inequality, we may not be able to transfer or we may not be able to deliver better socio-economic outcomes. But here the government makes the argument that's not the case with India, because the outcomes, they diverge in the advanced economies. Look at the point. Outcomes diverge, which means growth is having the better outcomes. But inequality increases when there is more inequality, the socio-economic outcomes is going down. So diverging. Higher growth, better outcome. Higher inequality, lower outcome. So it's diverging for the, which means the effect is diverging for the advanced economies. But the effects are converging in our country, which means higher growth also we are able to have better outcome. Even amidst the higher inequality or increased inequality, we are not having any impact on the socio-economic outcomes. Are you able to get the point? So we need not worry about inequality, because inequality is the second step what the government can take, because it is very difficult for any country to address the inequality along with the growth in the country. For example, you have to ride the horse, you have to show the growth for the economy. Along with that, you have to control the inequality. Means it's a double pressure on the government. Now the survey argues that you want to reduce poverty, you focus on poverty. Growth has got more potential to reduce the poverty. Once the growth gets established, automatically inequality will be addressed in the long run. Because what is inequality? It is nothing but it is a type of relative poverty. That is the argument made by the economic survey. This is the crux of chapter number 4, which we learned on yesterday's class. Now comes the chapter number 5. Almost we are about to finish chapter number 5. We were in the ending slides of chapter 5. Let me give a small recap of chapter number 5. So what the chapter number 5 is all about? Chapter number 5 makes the title. Title is like this. Finally, healthcare has made the center stage, which means the statement says that healthcare has not taken center stage. This gets reflected in one of the slide which we have seen. India ranks almost 179th rank out of 189 in the total expenditures for the health, because very lower no. So here India is not making huge expenditure, but the pandemic has indicated the significance of the healthcare importance, the importance of healthcare infrastructure, because now we got the pandemic. Now we have got affected because of the communicable diseases, but the chart shows that we are having the rising trend of non-communicable. We are not sure about the future. We should have the agile infrastructure. We should be better equipped. We should invest more. So what are the scenarios we have in the economy? We have got the mission called as National Health Mission. One side we are trying to ensure equity, and we know about the National Digital Health Mission. Then along with that, you know about the Jan Arogya Yojana. So giving the equity to the poor people, also in the or better healthcare facilities to the poor people. So what is the impact of all these schemes on the lives of the people? The survey makes a statement. What is the statement? When the government is willing to make even a small increase in the expenditures or overall health expenditure, for example, even now we are spending around 1 to 1.5%. If we are willing, or if we are interested, or if we are going to do 2.5% to 3% of GDP for health expenditures, then people's out-of-pocket expenditure, if we are spending 65%, means out-of-pocket expenditures can be brought down to 30. So that is the huge impact what the out-of expenditure may have because of the excess expenditure or a small increase by expenditure done by the government will have this positive impact. Because out-of-pocket expenditure will have a huge socio-economic impact, especially on the vulnerable people, especially on the poor people, because they don't have the money in their pocket to meet the basic needs. How come they could do the expenditures for the healthcare needs? Because this we have witnessed even in the middle class during the pandemic time when they get admitted for the COVID. Okay, whatever savings they had, we can easily connect. So here, reducing the out-of-pocket expenditures even during the normal scenario is important. To do that, what is the role of the government? It is exactly mentioned in the survey document. Then apart from that, this survey, yesterday we learned about what is the number of health professionals we have in our country. For example, the world average says that a country should have minimum 44.5% or 44.5 personals for 10,000 people. Do we have that? Or if we don't have, we should have at least 23 personals, which means the lower slab don't have less than that. 23 is the minimum level, so don't have below that, but 44 is the optimal level. So which are the states? India has got only one state. Kerala is the only state which has got above the 44. Most of the states are coming between 44 and 23. Many states are below the 23, which means we are in a crisis. We are in a health crisis, but we got more than 50% of the states below the lower level. So what is the need? Where lies the urgency for the economy? The survey documents that. Not only substantiates all the moves of the government, the document also indicates what is the area where the government should focus on. Okay, that is the thing what we have learned. Then we understood that regarding the expenditure. The government expenditure is lower, that we know that. So you know that when you, because the health expenditure is a concurrent one, it is done, expenditures are done both by the central as well as by the state government. But when you take the state government expenditure, so in the survey, it is compared along with the gross state domestic product. So what is the picture? The survey argues that when you take the overall gross state domestic product, the per capita health expenditure is increasing. Look at the point. Per capita health expenditure is increasing when there is increase in gross state domestic product. Gross state domestic product increases, the per capita health is having a small increase or marginal increase. But when you take the overall gross state domestic product, the overall expenditure, what you do for the health is comparatively lower, is not increasing. Which means without this increase, you cannot have increase on the per capita. You are having the increase. How we could have increase in the per capita without the overall increase? So you will be having overall increase. But the quantity, what you are doing is not that much appreciable. Which means rich states, they are not allocating more for the healthcare expenditure. When you divide by the population, because even a 1 rupee increase will show the higher level of increase. But when you taken as a percentage of gross state domestic product, we are not having appreciable increase. It is having a decrease. This is a very important point mentioned in the survey. Then remaining things and all we are going to do in today. This is the revision of yesterday's class. Okay, so now we are going to start the today's class. Those who are not attended, for them, this is a quick revision. For those who attended also, it's a revision. As usual, in the class we used to do, because when I start the slide, what I used to do means for 1 or 2 minutes, I used to go across the slides in a slow manner so that it acts as a digital revision. So now I'm going to move across the slides, so one by one, so you can understand what are the slides we learned yesterday. Okay, these things and all okay? Oh. Just one second for a slide, that's all, okay? For a few questions, you would have got answers, student. But at the end, today's class, I'll be repeating all the questions. Definitely, I know that you will come with answers. Sovereign rating, then growth lead to debt sustainability. You know the answer for this question. What is the right time to press the growth accelerator? You know the answer now. What is the right time? After addressing the supply constraints. Are we doing good in innovation parameters? That is 8th chapter today. Saving lives. Now you know the answer for these questions. Lives are more important than livelihoods. Then what is the logic? What is the argument? Everything. How these questions can, how this understanding or how this concept can get converted into prelims question. That also I got some prelims question in volume 2. So that in that segment you'll understand. Then will higher public expenditure always lead to crowding out? Now you got answer for this question also. Yesterday these were the questions on your mind, but now these are you have got answers on your mind. So when the questions are asked in examination, any format, so you'll be able to write the answer for these questions. Then these are the chapters which we learned yesterday. Saving lives and livelihoods. Why it is a crisis. Then this one. Then recovery is a V-shaped one. Anyway, we'll come across a V-shaped recovery once again in volume 2. Volume 2, chapter 1. So these are the indicators. Then about the inflation and about the pressing the accelerator. Then government expenditure when it got picked up. Atmanirbhar package. Okay, that's all. Chapter 1 is over. Then chapter 2, growth-led sustainability. Then IRGD concept. Then about the debt sustainability concept. Then about the direction of India's debt when the growth witnessed the increase. Then counter-cyclical, pro-cyclical slides. Then crowding out. Then the slides on crowding out. Then about the slides on debt of India. Chapter 3. Does India's sovereign credit rating reflect the fundamentals? Okay, this we are sure about. So the Chinese and then Indian experience is given. Past episodes did not have any impact. Okay, this is the episode, past episodes. Okay, so this is a slide. Now chapter 4. Chapter 4 we learned about inequality and growth, conflict or converge. So for the advanced economies, the effect diverge. But for India, okay, so we have the convergence of effect. So it's a relative measure, then the other things and all. Okay, discussions what we had yesterday. So redistribute here. This point is very important. Okay, it's a argument which you can quote in the main examination. Inequality and growth, because normally when you cannot deny the fact that inequality is the thing which has to be addressed. You cannot deny, because we were talking about inclusive growth, all those things. But how we are substantiating? Because UPSC exam is not about writing the point. Okay, even when an odd question is given, so as an aspirant we should be able to substantiate with a valid point. So here the thing is, yes, inequality we have to address. But to address the inequality, we should have the growth. Only when we have the food in the plate, we can distribute. No food, we cannot distribute. So the point is, when the size of the economy grows, it's the argument given in the survey. Then chapter 5. Okay, now we are in the chapter number 5. Okay, directly let's get into the slide where we left on yesterday. Equity in healthcare. This may be a statement in the prelims also. On healthcare spending. So overall it's lower for India. And then here, GSDP per capita, when it increases, so here we have the thing is increasing gradually, because the line, look at the line, it's increasing. Increase we have. But next chart we have the decrease. See, it's decreasing. Which means as for the same thing, it's decreasing. Okay, many of you are not able to understand this. You ask doubts at the end. Okay, so have a look at this slide, understand. Next one is healthcare professionals. This is over. It's very, see, only Kerala is the only state. It's a beautiful area which can be asked in the prelims. Then about other countries, we can ask any number of questions. That's all. Okay, now let's get into today's class. Okay, students, it's a revision. So I would have went a little bit fast, not to waste the time. Okay, now let me, okay, as usual, continue with the regular pace. Okay, students, here the point is very simple. I did not place any arguments to substantiate or explain this concept, because it is a practical thing what we have witnessed or what we are experiencing in our day-to-day life. What is the variation in cost? Because we got two kind of service providers in healthcare in India. One is the private healthcare providers, and another one is the public healthcare providers. So in public hospitals we have the higher cost, or in private hospitals we have the higher cost. Means we know that definitely private hospitals, they are charging for the same treatment which is given in the government hospital. So what is the government's argument? What is the evidence we have? Till now we are talking about this point without any evidence. But here we got the graphical evidence given by the economic survey. What is the evidence? Now, so here this talks about the increase in the, okay, the variation in the, variation between the government and then private hospitals. Look at the thing. For example, for different diseases. For example, the first one is about the fever. The dark red is about the thing, okay, for example, here it's about government hospital. Then the mild pink color is for the private hospitals. So here we have the variation between the expenditures between the government hospital and then private hospital. Look at the variations what we have. For the different diseases, for the different treatments, we have wide variation between the government and then private hospitals. This is the point which is mentioned in the economic survey of Government of India. So till now we are talking about this point, but it is validated, it is given as economic evidence by the government in the survey document, which may be asked in the examination. So maybe in any way they may ask, okay, but you should have a small idea in your mind for all the things. Then second thing which may come on our mind is, we always think that the quality of service given in the given is under par in government hospitals. But the quality of service is better in the private hospitals. Like that we think. But the survey makes a statement, no, that's not the right statement. Even the private hospitals also, we are having the poor quality service is given. Sometimes government, but it's not the case always. But the survey makes the statement saying that in private hospitals also, we are witnessing poor quality healthcare. So that's a statement. So this thing you copy, okay, or you have a look at this slide. This is about just a small comparison. Different diseases they are given. Fever, and then TB, and then, okay, so cancers, and then blood disease, diabetes. Different diseases are given for the variation, okay, government, private. Government, and then private. Government, private, okay, nothing to have a deep look. Okay, just the slide, the graph will automatically convey you the concept. So then about the poor quality. So write the heading poor quality. Because the slide what we are going to see is going to shock you, student. It's going to shock, because we know that if any health illness or health problem comes, it is a normal news. But the same problem happens in our family, okay, it is not a news. We all know about this logic because it is the suffering of the particular family. So here, the survey argues that in India, most of the health calamities, they are taking place not due to lack of health facilities or not due to lack of access. People are able to access the facility, but even accessing or going to the hospitals, so here the negligence or the poor quality of treatment given, it's actually playing a huge negative role on the lives of the people. So here, kindly have a look at the slide. So here the thing which is given in the red, no? So the red is about death due to poor quality care. So red is the segment which shows death due to poor quality. It's dreadful, it's a pathetic one, so what we should not have. So the death due to the poor quality. But this one, no, second, this one is about the due to the non-utilization of healthcare services. So the problem is not due to non-utilization of healthcare services. The problem is mainly due to the poor quality healthcare what we have in our country. Here the survey makes a very strong argument. What is the argument? For example, when a person is going to ask a loan from a bank, what the bank is doing, what is the credit quality of the person? The bank is checking by looking at the financial fundamentals, then the banks are giving the loan. We got the multiple rating. For example, individuals are rated through the agency called as a CIBIL, then even the government gets rated, okay, the companies or corporates are rated. Like that we have rating mechanism. Then what is the rating for the hospitals? Which for example, when they are given poor treatment, where it is getting reflected. So what is the information we have about the hospitals? What is the information we have about the patients? Now a question may come on your mind, sir. The information about the hospital is needed for the patients. But why the information about the patients is needed in the economy? Because it is about the loss of privacy, like that you may think. But here the survey makes a strong argument. What is the argument? For example, healthcare sector is closely connected to the insurance business, which you understood during the times of pandemic. Because many companies, they rejected the COVID insurance policy because the companies suffered a huge balance sheet impact because of the claims for the COVID cases. So here, the point survey argues is, health insurance is a vital component for any economy. To have the higher penetration of health insurance, the health insurance company should know about the people for whom they are giving the health insurance policy. For example, when a person is normal, when suddenly something happens, then he should be covered under the insurance policy. So insurance policy is not applicable to the person who is already having illness. When I'm ill, I'm having any severe illness, when I'm hiding those facts, I'm taking insurance policy means it's against the ethics. So I should reveal that I'm suffering from this disease, then I should go for insurance. So to do that, the company should know about the patients for whom they are giving the policies. And then the patient should know from whom we are getting the treatments. So we don't have the proper appraisal of doctors. We don't have information about the patients. We have huge information asymmetry in our economy. That is the thing what we should not have. So here the survey makes an example or comparison with UK. So there they have the framework called as the quality and outcomes framework done based on the National Health Service. What they are doing? They are going to hospitals. They are taking the clinical trials, taking the audits of doctors' performance, quality of doctors. Then they are having the information about the patients portal, everything is uploaded. Sometimes all these things are put on public domain also. So we are able to access the information about the service, about the hospitals where we are going, about the doctors from whom we are getting treatment, and about the patients for whom we are giving treatment. Sometimes we may not blame the hospital. Sometimes the patient would have died or something would have happened because of the problem with the patient. These facts would have hidden to the hospital. So it may result in the chaos between the hospital and the patient. So it is applicable on both sides. So we need information about the hospitals and then about doctors. India needs that. Okay, it's a very important point discussed in the survey, which you can use in the main examination. Okay. Then, for example, if you ask a question, what is your opinion? what is the problem we have in our economy, in our healthcare sector. So you should have these kind of thoughts in our, so problem means we think about the hospitals, lack of healthcare professionals, but information symmetry, how vital it is for an economy. That is the argument given in the economic survey. So these are the things, okay, so these are the things what you are going to learn in the coming segments. Then at last the government has concluded with a very important point. What is an important point? The survey argues for establishing a central regulator for healthcare services. That is a very important thing what the survey focuses on. They say that countries should have a central regulator to regulate all the hospitals and then to address the information asymmetry. We should have the regulator, and because of this pandemic, because of the health emergency, we need a regulator without doubt. Okay, survey concludes with this statement. So these are the things what you are going to copy from the remaining slides. So have this understanding. Now we copy the slides. With this we are concluding this chapter. And one more thing, poor quality, I told you now students, for example, this is the poor quality. For example, this is the case for India. So the second graph is for the Pakistan. Third one is for Bangladesh. So and fourth one is for Nepal. Fifth one is for Sri Lanka. So we are comparing with the peers. So where India stands, this one. Then we are having the comparison with the poor quality across the globe. The things which are given in the dark blue, these are the countries with the poor quality healthcare across the globe. Here we have the comparison with our neighbors, but here we have made the comparison with across the globe. For example, dark blue stands for the poor quality healthcare. So here the government has identified where the problem is. Because to solve a problem, the most important pre-requirement is to identify where is the problem. Without identifying where is the problem, you cannot solve. First you have to identify the problem, then you have to boldly reveal, yes, I have the problem here. Then the thing is, you are showing all signs or all symptoms of addressing your problem. So the India says, here I have got the problem. So the need is, I will be addressing the problem in the near future. So now comes the next one. Write the point, students. Sectoral regulator. What is the need for sectoral regulator for healthcare sector? Central level regulator. Students, those who are live, those who are on video, excuse me, because in normal class I used to interact with you. So I'm able to see all of you on the screen. But I'm not making any interaction. Excuse me for that, because if I do that, then the people on live, they may feel disconnected to the session. Okay, that's why. Don't feel, okay, so I'm not making any interaction with you. Okay, it's about the regulator. And then the need for regulator, okay, here it emphasizes about the quantity of healthcare services which could be delivered. Regulator is essential for the quality of healthcare services. Then about the safety, how safe we are delivering. Then about the distribution. So this is the essential or need for having the regulator. Then the survey has documented the need for information symmetry. Okay, next one. Just have some idea in the UK, because the people, they used to talk about the healthcare system in the UK, because there the people need not spend any expenditure. Government takes care of the entire healthcare expenditure. So here, how they are ensuring that. So the survey is quoted on the quality and outcomes framework. It should be implemented in our economy also. Whatever hospital, the hospital should not be branded based on their hospital size or not based on the investments. The hospitals should get their brand based on the quality of treatment. So it should be made public. So there should not be any hidden outcomes. So every outcome, either positive or negative, based on that, okay, we should have released in the public domain. It results in transparency. It's not a one-sided thing, not supporting the public or not criticizing the service providers. Both sides taking the middle path. That's the meaning of this point. Quality and outcomes framework. So this has got potential to be asked only in the main, not in the preliminary examination, this point and all. Can quote, because healthcare sector has got more chance of getting asked this year because we are in the crisis. So not about the pandemic, not about the virus, but in economic dimension, questions may be framed. So you may use. If not, so somewhere, okay, you can use the point because we got many areas where you can quote the economic survey. So next thing is, same thing, okay, the continuation of the previous segment about the appraisal for the doctors, information about the patients, and regular audits, sudden monitoring, supervision, these things and all, normally, okay. Regarding the management principles, what we know, that those things were mentioned here. Okay, students. Now the last slide is about the information asymmetry which we should not have in the healthcare sector. The mitigation of information asymmetry. Lack of proper or lack of transparent information. Okay, with this we are finishing the chapter number 5. That's all. Clear, students? So all the contents will be given to you. Don't worry. Okay, I told you, no? So everything contents will be given to you. So just you put a small point, information asymmetry. That's all. Okay, now next one. And then students, those who are online, okay, you can just write. You can write, okay, by pausing the video, those things and all. Next one is chapter number 6. Chapter number 6. What is chapter number 6? This is more technical in nature, students. It's more technical. The points are more administrative in nature. And it talks about the scenario, what we have in our economy, where we are lacking, where the problem lies in managing our enterprises or managing our institutions. Okay, it's a very nice thought out chapter. So what is the chapter is all about? Write the heading. Process reforms. So doing the process reforms, enabling decision making under uncertainty. Enabling decision making under uncertainty. So this is the heading of this chapter. Now let me give you a brief overview of this chapter. Then each and every slide, when we move across, and let me explain each and every slide. Okay, students. Now, what is the argument or what is the discussion made by the government in this chapter? So, what the government talks about in this chapter? So, here let me explain. Let me give a small idea. So, here the government says that in India, what we are trying to do means when you are trying to manage a particular institution, maybe a government office or a private office, or when the government regulatory body, when they are trying to regulate all the companies or corporates, or trying to regulate the business, what we are trying to do is, we are planning to account for all the possible outcomes which may happen in the future. These things may happen in the future. To avoid that, okay, I should have the rule in place. These things may be the outcome. To do that, I should have the rule in place. So to avoid the ex post scenario, what may happen after the event? Ex post means before the scenario. Ex ante means before the event. So here, to avoid the ex post complications, we are making more regulations. So what is the impact on the economy? Because of having more regulations to avoid the future complications, now you have spoiled the management process itself. Because when you have more regulations, what is the thing we can infer? What is the thing we can understand is, here we have a term called as discretion. What is discretion? If a situation occurs or situation happens, the person should be given the responsibility or the freedom to make the decision on his own. That is a discretionary power. But here, by having more regulations, you are not letting the discretion flow in our economy. When you have a person at the managerial level, you are asking the person to follow the norms, follow the procedures, follow the rules. Sometimes the situation may be different. At that time, we are not giving the discretionary power to the person to act according to the outcome, act according to the situation, which means we are not trusting on the discretion. As a result, sometimes outcomes may be as per our expectation. Many times outcome, because we cannot account for the outcome, because this is a world of uncertainty, economically, socially, geographically, whatever may be. So you cannot account for each possible outcome. So here, when you are trying to address the outcome with the regulation, the entire process is becoming more complex. So able to understand. So India has got a more complex process. It is not because of negligence, because you want to account for all the outcomes. For example, imagine Let me explain a small example. Imagine we have a particular family or office, anything. So here we have any person in a particular family. So he is very responsible about the family, but is trying to account for all the outcomes, which means if this happens, you do this. If this happens, you do this. When the person makes the rules like this, sometimes it won't let the others to think, it won't give the freedom, it won't let the independence or quality behavior among the other person. So here, certain times the people should be given the freedom to act on their own. So it is applicable in the office, it is applicable at the homes. So everywhere, wherever you go, this is applicable. Sometimes we should not try to account for each and every possible minor outcomes. For major, you can have the rules. But minor things, it may vary according to the time frame, according to the particular period. So this is the entire plot. And then here the survey, how it concludes. Sir, you are told that we got more regulations. What is the answer given by the survey? They say that, so there is a two-step, or there is a two stages involved in any event. One is before the event, what we do, or after the event, what we do. For example, when you are trying to start a particular activity, when you are planning to start a particular company, before starting a company or before regulating the economy, you try to make the rules. Once the rules are made, you give the flexibility or discretionary power to the person who is managing the things. If there is negative outcome, don't penalize or don't punish the person who has taken the discretionary power. So the person will be frightened. So the person will be frightened to take discretionary decisions. The person, what he will do? I will follow only the rules. I will follow only the rules. Because sometimes you have to be flexible according to the outcomes. So here what you can do is, you should trust the person. The entire mechanism should be transparent. And then if there is any problem, we should have the strong mechanism of grievance redressal. Or else we should have strong resolution mechanism. If there is a problem, the problem should be resolved according to the situation. So the individual person should not be punished. To do that, what we should have is, we should have a strong mechanism of supervision. So the thing says that we don't need more regulation. We need a monitoring, we need supervision, and then we need transparency, we need accountability, along with discretion. Look at the words what I'm using. So we don't need more regulation. We need discretion. Sometimes discretionary decisions may go wrong. If it goes wrong, we have to check them with the proper post-resolution mechanism. The resolution mechanism should be speed enough, which means you know about the cases, what we have. So here the survey says that, for example, imagine I am running a company. My company has become bankrupt or going to become bankrupt. Now I feel that no, this is not the place to do the business. So place means is not the sector to do the business. I am planning to close the business. So now if I plan to close the business, I don't have any default. I don't have any issues. So I am initiating the process. Legally, I am planning to close the business because from GST records, all the company's records, PF, everything I have to close. So in India, so what is the number of days required to completely close the business or to finish all the formalities? The survey says it takes 1,570 days. It's almost 4.3 years it takes for India to finish all the formality. Imagine. So this is mentioned by the government of India. So when you compare with the other countries, Singapore, other countries, they are saying that it takes 12 months. So it will be a conducive environment for the businessman. When I go to this country, yes, when I want to make the exit is quick. You know about the insolvency and the bankruptcy, all the process, they aimed at only the reducing this time frame. So this survey makes the argument, because why the government is talking about these things, or why the survey talks about these things, means because these are the pressing issues of my economy. These are the things which are considered by the policymakers. So what the government is going to decide, what the government is going to act, is revealed to the public, general public, once in a year through the document. So you'll get the idea how the government is going to act. Sometimes we may criticize the government. Government is not thinking about this. We got more regulations. So what is the logic? Why we have the regulations? Whether the government is considering about doing reforms. All the things are indicated. Here the chapter talks about those things. So this is the idea, students. Now each and everything let's understand with the help of the slides. One by one, let's move across the slides. Now the first one. Now you can write. Wherever the explanation is needed, I'll explain. Remaining things you can have a look or you can write. I'll leave it to you. First one, in a world of uncertainty, it is not possible to account for all possible outcomes. This is the understanding what we should have. Regulation is not because of negligence, these things and all outdated. We are trying to account for all the outcomes. It is also a sort of responsibility. So it's more responsibility, because of that you are doing this. We cannot criticize. So and then India over-regulates the economy. Official statement you can use, over-regulates the economy. India over-regulates the economy. And this is not only mentioned by the government of India, and because you know that there is an index called as a World Rule of Law Index, released by the World Justice organization like that in US. It's a non-independent, non-profit, independent organization. They revealed some rankings. In the rankings also, it substantiates these statements. India over-regulates the economy. Then this results in regulations being overboard or ineffective because of too much regulations. Imagine when you are given a piece of paper to follow, you will follow. But when you are given 30 pages to be followed, then you won't know what rules you have in your hand. Because the rules should be simplified, should be according to the need. So it should be simple enough. This results in overboarding. Overboarding results in ineffectiveness. Okay, students? Simply write the hints. Over-regulation, and because of over-regulation, ineffectiveness. Then about the accounting for all the outcomes. Here I use some words like regulation, you know the meaning for regulation. Then I use the word called discretion. Discretion means permitting a person to act on his own, letting him to take the own decision. Then I use the word like supervision. We all know about supervision. It is about the monitoring what we do. Then accountability, you know about the meaning of the term. Then ex ante I used. Ex ante means it is before the event, ex ante. And then ex post. Ex post means after the decision or after the event is called as ex post. These are the basic understanding of what you have. Then only you can understand this chapter. Ex post means after the taking decision or after starting a company, anything after regulation. So the events after, this is event before. Then kindly write this ranking, students. India rank is 45 out of 128 countries. India's rank is 45 out of 128 countries in respecting the due process. So yesterday I asked a question, no? So India, are we a country proper in compliance or whether we are not complying? We are good in compliance. Look at the ranking. We are 45 out of 128 countries in following the due process. In compliance, we are good. We think that our Indians, okay, we are not complying, not following the rules. No, the data says that. We are 45 out of 1, but we got maybe 44 countries ahead of us. But we are not bad, that much bad. We cannot say we are the best, but we are not that much bad. Next one, but here see, here we are 104 out of 128 countries. Which means we are ineffective in implementing rules. We have the rules in the book, but we are not properly implementing because it is a confused scenario we have. Why we are confused scenario? Because we are trying to make rules for each and every possible outcome. You should have some broader idea, that's all. Clear? Two things I have conveyed through the World Rule of Law Index ranking. You can make a mark, okay? World Rule of Law Index ranking, released by some World Justice organization like that in USA. So this is released by the World Rule of Law Index. Okay, now we know about the reason why we have more rules. We know about where we stand with respect to compliance, where we stand with respect to implementation of rules or effectiveness, how effectively we are implementing. Now comes the next one. Regulatory quality in India. Regulatory quality. So we told that we are not that much effective, but regulatory quality, what is the trend? Trend of regulatory quality. Sometimes a question is asked. India's regulatory quality is deteriorating or going down, declining, or it is improving but not according to the global standards. You should have some idea because economic survey is about this trend, these things. So what the trend says? According to the trend, regulatory quality is gradually improving in India. When compared to the 1990s period, we are gradually improving. But when compared to the other countries, which means when the score is 100 is the full mark means, now India is at the level of 50. But we got 50 more. Other countries like Singapore, these are the countries where they are almost at the level of 100, nearer to 100. So here, For example, the survey also point out that we all know about the ease of doing business. In ease of doing business, India's rank, you know about, we came up to the rank 63 and all, but there, even after coming, there are some indicators where India is lagging. What are the indicators where we are lagging? Starting a business, it's one of the indicators where India is lagging. And registering a property in India, there we are lagging. In other area, okay, we are performing somehow. But why we are lagging in those indicators? Registering a property, starting a business, we are lagging. Why? Because there we got more rules. Register a property and starting a business, multiple regulations you have. So what is the problem? Why we are lacking in ease of doing business? Because these are the areas where we got bundle of rule book to be followed. It takes more number of days than the other countries. So it actually it takes the clue from ease of doing business and then makes the comparison. Why we are lagging in those indicators. Now you can write where we are. Okay, this is a chart which says India's regulatory quality is improving gradually. Overall, not continuous increase, not a ascending line. It's of fluctuating nature, but compared to these levels, so it can be drawn like this. In between, we had some ups and downs. Regulatory quality in India is improving. Okay, we are at this level. Then what is the level? So you convert this into statement. Regulatory quality is gradually improving in India, gradually improving with ups and downs. But it's improving, not a straight line improvement. And the next one, where we stand when compared with other countries. Look here, this is the blue one is for India. Here India is at, standing at the level, okay, for example, Singapore. This first one is Singapore. Then we have Canada. Then we have UK, US. These are the countries which are quick in regulating. They have rules, but when they want to regulate anything, they are quick, they are speed enough. But we are not that much speed enough. We are taking more time. Where we stand when compared to other countries. So why they got 20 trillion economy? Okay, so why we are aiming for 5 trillion? So it's all about the investments, it's all about the growth, what we have. So why the people are preferring, why they are going for other destinations? Because they always prefer a place where they got rules, but limited rules, or the rules which are quick enough. So not the rules which will consume more amount of time. Because we don't even the patience to wait, because we as an individual person, when you want to go to any job, we want the job to get completed as quickly as possible. Same angle, that's a mindset for all the business people. But here the drawback is multiple regulations. Now, this chart is compared with the ease of doing business, not comparison. So making the justification. Despite the improvement in India's regulatory quality since 2013, it is still much lower than other countries. That we understood with the previous slide itself. It's still much lower than UK, US, Singapore and Japan. And the next one, ease of doing business. Similarly, despite making huge strides in the overall ease of doing business, India still is behind in the subcategories. I told you, starting a business, we are lagging. Registering a property, we are lagging. So this may be already these things are asked in the preliminary examination, but in the mains, you can use. Ease of doing business is one of the important thing. So, or in any answer, you can use it as a point. Ease of doing business, we are not conducive in these two parameters. Even though rank is improving, so in the subcategories, we are not performing. Why? So you can write. You got a bundle of points to be answered. Always I want to train your mind in the mains angle. That's why connecting here and there. Okay. When you got the plot in your mind, then in your own individual style, you'll write. I know that. So just take this point into your mind. Due to the high number of procedures required. Okay, students. The next slide talks about the unnecessary regulations what we have in our economy. Example, I told you, the number of years taken in India, these things and all are given in the survey. To account for this, you can write, or you can just have a look at this first point. To account for every possible outcome, then procedures needed to voluntarily close a company. All these things we have seen, just you can write. The time taken to close a company in India, voluntarily close. This is not right, already we have explained you the concept. Slightly you can write the next slide. You can write this, voluntarily to close a company, how many number of days or years are required in India. So you can write the heading unnecessary regulations. Unnecessary regulations. Okay. See here, 1570 days. And then the most important point, what you have to note here is 1570 days is needed for a company which is not having any litigation. For a company which is not having any issues. In the problem, they don't have any problem. For them, they got this number of days. For a company with a problem, you think, how many days may be required to resolve all the things? The place in the company is not involved any litigation or any dispute. Which means this clearly says that our government has got a clear-cut framework in its mind to resolve this. Government wants to resolve these things. We should be speed enough. So it's an indication by the government. Survey is the indication by the government, where the government is going to act. Healthcare, we understood where we are lacking. Okay, but healthcare professionals we don't have. And then gross state domestic product percentage we are lacking. Poor quality healthcare. So these things and all we understood. Same angle here. Where is the problem? Then it's 12 months in Singapore. This data. These are statements for the previous slides. You can write or just we can have a look. Then next one, I have told incomplete regulations is a part of the business, is part of the administration. So this is may sound odd, but this is the argument placed by the survey. Regulations always they should be incomplete, which means you cannot complete it by accounting for all the possible outcomes. Sometimes there should be space. I have made these rules. Sometimes the things may happen beyond my expectation. At the time, discretionary powers will play its role, will act accordingly or will act with the more responsibility. That's all. Inevitability of incomplete regulations in any economy. This is the answer which substantiates or which supports for discretion. Then, how the incomplete regulations could be addressed. It could be addressed with the help of two mechanisms. One is ex-ante accountability and ex-post resolution mechanism. This kindly mark, students. These are the points which you have to mention in the main answers. Ex-ante accountability and ex-post resolution mechanism. When the people are more accountable, automatically they won't take wrong decisions. You have to trust the people. So instead of trusting the rules, we have to trust the people. And if at all, if the outcome is wrong, have strong resolution mechanism. So they are interconnected things. Example, here the government has mentioned about the GEM. What is GEM, students? Government e-marketplace. You would have heard about, no, it is a public portal what we have here, whatever government is purchasing, what price they are purchasing. For example, government is buying any air conditioners for their offices, any stationaries or whatever, if they are buying for their government offices, everything at what price they are buying. So they cannot make any wrong quote. This is the price in the market. Why you bought at this level? You can question the government. So everything is more transparent. So here the survey argues that government e-marketplace acts as a platform for ensuring transparency. The same angle, you ensure transparency, then you give discretion, then you won't be having any wrong outcomes. If it happens also, you could address the wrong outcome with the help of the strong resolution mechanism. Resolution mechanism should be quick enough. Okay, all this is the plot. Now, regulation, the same thing, continuation, regulation versus supervision. Regulation versus supervision. How we have to supervise the things, how we have to monitor, why the monitoring is more important than regulation. The survey argues that for running any enterprise, supervision is more important than regulation. Regulation will avoid the discretionary powers, may restrict the discretionary powers, but supervision will enable the discretionary powers. The first paragraph of the slide says that instead of avoiding discretion, when you try to frame more rules, then it will dilute your objective itself. Having more rules to avoid discretion, so it will dilute the sole purpose. What is the purpose? You want to be more responsible. But because of doing that, automatically your purpose may not be met. Then the document gives the solution for the discretion, students. What is the solution for discretion? Here we are in India is a country where we are not given more discretionary powers to the people at the managerial level, because they are all acting according to the rule book. Now the government says that the process has to be reformed, the rule book should be minimized, and then it should be effective governance. Okay, not the bulky rule book, but the strong governance with the help of discretionary powers. When you plan to do that, when you planned, now we decided that I'm going to give discretionary powers, how it should be implemented? It could be implemented through the 3-step process. That is the thing which is conveyed in the document. What is the 3-step process? First, you should make the people more accountable for the decision what they take, which means ex-ante accountability. Then transparency mechanism in the entire process. Then the third thing, what we have seen in the previous slide, having the strong resolution mechanism. So these are the 3-step solutions given in the survey. Already we have studied about those points, but here specifically I am bringing that point. These are the points which are given in the slide as a solution for the problems which may arise out of discretionary powers when you give to the people. So this you need not copy. Already we have seen this. Directly you can write this point. You can write this slide. So 3-step process. With this we are completing this chapter. This chapter is purely main focused chapter, students. So that's why the topics are not prelim oriented, except a few points where we stand with regard to the regulatory compliance, or whether we are good enough in complying or good enough in regulatory effectiveness, and about the rules. These things may be preliminary oriented, but other things are concept oriented. It is about the for the policy makers, because it is about we discuss about the things what the people they discuss in the policy room. So it is not about for the prelim angle. So it may be a conceptual segment. So I'm repeating the same thing. Where sometimes when you go to the end point will be having connection with the starting point. So in that way, we have structured the class. So the same thing, we're using the four terms, we have run the entire chapter. Like regulations, and then compliance, and then about ex-ante accountability, ex-post resolution mechanism, and then about the transparency mechanism. These are the words. Using these words, you can write your answers in the main examination. With this, we are completing this chapter also, students. Now, I think you got the idea. What is the problem in India, and how much time we take to close a process, because it is a very time consuming, and where other countries are standing. So why the people won't be incentivized to do investments in our country? So to attract them, we should be quick enough. So what is the regulatory quality in India, whether we are improving or whether we got stagnated. So we see in the Helpa chart, we're improving, but not in comparison with other countries. So and then ease of doing business, where we are lagging, that we know, but that point we have brought here by comparing with the need for process reforms, because registering a business and then starting a business, registering a property, because of the more regulations, we are lagging in the ease of doing business. So it gives wrong identity to the global investors. India is actually consumes more time. So why I should go to India? So these are the understandings what we got from this chapter. With this understanding, let's step into chapter number 7. Okay, this is a slide which I mentioned about the recent reforms. You know that labor codes, we have done reforms, no, the codes on the minimum wages, and then industry relations codes, like that government has taken reforms, and even agriculture sector government has taken reforms. Even BPO sector, you would have known that earlier they were having many restrictions, because entire the BPO business, it runs on the cloud computing, but India we are having restrictions. So we should have the EPAP backs, EPA, BX, like that. So and then work from home restrictions, but now we have given them relaxation. That's why many companies they are permitting for work from home like that. BPO reforms, what we have done. These are cited as the examples because intellectually government is going in this direction. Example, yes, look here. So the survey document gives a hint that government is going in this direction. So what may be the future for India? In the future, after 3 or 4 years, we may not be having the occurrence. We may not be in a position to say that. For example, India took 1570 days before 4 years back. Now India takes only 1 year or 2 years. That is the path where we want to travel. This is the hint given by economic survey. With this, we are finishing this chapter. Now we are going to the next chapter. Chapter number 7. Students, this is a very important chapter. I enjoyed this chapter, reading this chapter, because it gave much more insights about the pressing problems of our economy. As a student, I think this chapter will be very helpful for the main examination. And the preliminary examination also, many beautiful questions can be asked from this area, if they plan to ask. It is a much insightful arguments are placed in this chapter, because it's beautifully, they have crafted the arguments against the economic backdrop of India. What are the problems we have in the banking sectors? What are the crises? Because the normal problem we come across in bank sector is NPA crisis. Would have come across NPA crisis, recapitalization of the banks, the budget constraints because of the huge allocation, government encounter fiscal deficit. These are the past scenarios, what you would have witnessed or what you studied during your prelim preparation. These things are beautifully brought into the chapter. They are weaved, conveyed to the reader in a beautiful manner. So the experience what I had, I'll be delivering to you. Okay, so through this chapter. So just try to have the understanding, overall understanding what the chapter is all about. Okay, first of all, what is the heading for this chapter? Heading of this chapter is regulatory forbearance and emergency medicine. It is not a staple diet. First, you understand the heading. Okay, then let's get into the, because in the most beautiful point of a beautiful segment of this economic survey is, in heading itself, the economic advisor has conveyed the entire plot of the particular chapter, because the headings are they kept the title in such a way. So look here, regulatory forbearance and emergency medicine, not a staple diet. So it is a medicine. They are not denying the fact that it is a medicine. Undoubtedly, which means it is going to have healing effect, but not the staple diet. So this understanding you should have. So what the regulatory forbearance they are talking about. So when we implemented that, why implemented? So why the people stick on to those procedures? Why the government hesitated? What were the adverse effect on the economy? All these things we are going to learn in a more detailed way. This will give you a broad idea about the issues. So when you read anything, automatically your mind will be able to analyze the things in a more broad perspective after this chapter. Okay, I'm sure about it. So now let's get into the chapter. First of all, what is meant by regulatory forbearance we are talking about? So regulatory forbearance is nothing but when you have a problem. For example, take that now during the pandemic crisis, we announced the moratorium for the loans. For example, people, those who borrowed the loan, we gave them loan moratorium, which means you need not pay the loans, extended time period for the people, because you are in a crisis. So I am making the rules flexible so that I don't want you to suffer. Which means I am giving you a flexibility in repayment. You need not repay because you are suffering, you have lost your income, you are not going to the office, economy in lockdown, so I am permitting you. But that's not the normal thing. But now you are suffering, I am accepting, okay, your failure or accepting your default. So normally banks will not accept your default even for a day or two or for a week. But here I will make a rule, which means that I will make it flexible because I know your problem. So at this time, if I ask you, you may not be able to pay. So this is not the right time to ask you back the money. So you can understand the entire plot. The same angle, regulatory forbearance means the same. Moratorium is one example. Regulatory forbearance is like this, in this way. When the things are in the worst case scenario, you make some flexibility in the existing rules and regulations, and you give the permission to the people to act in the according to the exemption given to them. So now for next 1 year or 2 years, you are given the flexibility. You get to act in this way. That is called as regulatory. Okay, not regulation wise. Not the particular person is acting. We will structure the regulations in such a way. Regulations will permit the people to make modifications in the existing process of operation. This is the regulatory forbearance, general idea what you should have. Then, next, one more thing you should have the understanding before getting the chapter. What is meant by the term called as window dressing? Because yesterday I told you that basic concept I won't touch. So here I am not touching the basic concept, but window dressing, something sometimes you may not have learned during a preparation. So what is a window dressing means? It is a very simple thing. Window dressing is nothing but doing some measures or making some arrangements to look beautiful or make to look that it is perfect, which means a thing which is not perfect, so we'll make it look perfect. So window dressing means, for example, when the bank balance sheet is not good, what we'll do means we will make the modifications in the bank balance sheet to look that the bank balance sheet looks beautiful. So if a person who wants to invest on the bank, when you look at the balance sheet, he'll observe that no, nothing wrong, everything is good for the bank, because as per regulatory mechanism it's good. But this is the modification, this is the adjustment which is done from my side. So this is called as a window dressing. The thing which is not perfect, it will be modified to look as if as it is perfect. So this is the called as a window dressing. So two things we have the understanding. Based on this only, we are going to develop the complete understanding of this chapter. What is window dressing? What is forbearance? So these things and all, we are going to apply these words to know about this concept. Now, sir, why this survey talks about this chapter? Now comes the question. So why this chapter talks about this concept? The point is, you know that on 2008, the entire world got hit by the crisis, recession. You know the scenario, because in US, the country got hit by the problem called a subprime crisis. The subprime crisis got the spillover effect on the entire economy, got ripple effect on the entire global economy. Then we got affected, entire economy, world, global economy got affected. So at that time, when our economy got affected, government gave an emergency medicine to our economy. Because during the time of crisis 2008, when our economy got into downturn, the same thing, what we are witnessing. This is a very deep downturn, but at the time it was not that much. So at that time also, government considered my economy is in a downturn. So here the people, those who are the people means not only individual borrowers, the corporates, they are finding it difficult to repay the loans because the economy, they are not getting the revenues. Because of lack of revenues, they are not able to make the payment to the banks. Because of their bank balance sheet has come with the more NPAs. So what the bank has to do, if there is more NPA, bank has to do more provisions for NPA. You understand the flow, what I am saying? If they are not repaying, it will become default. You know about NPA category, standard, substandard, all this category. If there is more NPA for the bank has to allocate more provision or more capital. More, because you know that the capital what they have to allocate according to NPA provision, it increases when the NPA increases. So it is a burden on the bank. So it is an impact on the one person. So it makes impact on the another person. It makes impact on the bank. When the banks get affected, then what they will do, they will have impact on the lending mechanism. Lending mechanism gets affected, then it will have impact on the overall economy. Then when it has impact on the overall economy will have impact on the growth. Already economy is not having growth, but once again if it gets hit means then the cycle continues. It will become a vicious cycle. Able to understand the plot, no? So in the same angle, 2008 crisis, government did not want to have this impact on our economy. So to address the economy and to make the economy resilient, government gave some relaxation. That is mentioned in the survey as the economic forbearance. So here says, yes, whatever the government has done, we accept that. It is good for the economy. Because at that time, our economic growth rate got plunged. You want to revive the economy, so you gave the measure. It was an emergency medicine. We don't deny the fact. But you made the emergency medicine as a regular diet. Look at the statement. So because when the economy showed the signs of recovery, it is not about acting for a particular period. Here the survey does not say that you gave the medicine for 1 year, stop. Like that, the survey is not arguing. The survey says that when the economy started showing signs of recovery, for example, you can give it for 1 year or 2 years, 3 years, but the economy started showing signs of recovery. At that time, what you should have done, you should stop the forbearance mechanism. You should have asked the people to follow the normal mechanism. Then the economy would have bounced back. But what you did, the emergency medicine what you gave, you made it as a staple diet in the economy. As a result, economy got into many adverse effects on the economy for which we are suffering now. Able to make the connection now. What is the connection is, the economy has got impact. If the economy is not having impact now, then the survey will not have argument. So I say that the problem what we have is the problem or the traces goes back to the forbearance implemented during the 2008 crisis. But forbearance is not wrong, but it got continued more than the required number of years. So what is the argument? How it gets justified? Those things and all I am going to tell you, because if I explain in a stretch, you may lose the focus. So I'm stopping here. Now, one by one, okay, you're going to look at the forbearance, what happened, where should it have stopped, why it did not stop, all the things. We're going to learn one by one. Now, kindly copy this, students. I explained the forbearance. You can have a definition for the forbearance with the help of the slide. Okay, so just an idea. So you are tolerating, okay, restraint, tolerance, relaxing the norms. You know about restructuring the assets and all, you know about the NPA, okay, those basics. I'm not going to do it here, because that is the only thing, okay, you have to excuse me for that, because if I do that, then it will take minimum 1 hour or 2 hours. Okay, the class will be 2.5 hour session, but I do taken only the basics, so I want to do justice. Okay, that's why. So I'm not getting to the basics. Okay, fine. Okay, taken, students. So I not finished the chapter. Okay, I have given only the definition for the word regulatory forbearance, and then window dressing. The other most analytical things yet to be explained. Because the beauty of this chapter is, as I have mentioned, not only in this segment, so the connections they have made in a proper manner. What is the connection? They have justified each and every impact. So what is that? We got a long way to go in this chapter. Copy it, students. The chapter 9, 10, they are not conceptual. Even 8 is not conceptual. Only this one is the concept oriented. Okay, now next one. This is the slide which tells you that the forbearance implemented by the government at that time was a very right move. It's a good move. So first we have to accept it's a right one. Right decision taken at the right time. So look at the impact. Impact is, at the time when the forbearance was taken by the government of India, it was 3.1%. Then our economy got recovered to 8.5. So thumbs up to the measure of the government. So forbearance is not wrong. So it has yielded the results in our economy, 3.1 to 8.5. First we have to tell the positive outcome. So here you write these things. 3 is the data support. Forbearance has resulted in 3.1 to 8.5% recovery of our economy. Okay, has resulted in the recovery of economy. And then now the arguments are going in the other direction. Okay, so now we're going to make the arguments in the opposite direction. So now we are appreciated. Yes, it's fine. Copied. Next one. But it should have got discontinued at the sign of first opportunity. When the economy witnessed, what is the opportunities? We have got multiple indicators in our economy. like growth indicators, and then IAP indicators, and then the tax revenues of the government. We got many indicators which act as the proxies. They act as the proxies for the development. Development happens, then these things will develop. So we got a credit flow in the economy, many more things. But all the things were ignored. Okay, that is the complaint of the survey. So you gave the medicine, but when the person recovered, imagine that I am falling ill, I got into sickness. So now you are giving, doctors giving medicine to me. Okay, now he's asking me to take medicine for 5 to 7 days. What I should do? After 7 days when I got recovered, I should stop the medicine. So after recovering also, if I'm continue, it will have its side effects on my body. First, it recovered my body. Then after the particular period of time, prolonged use will result in side effect. So that is the plot of this argument. You keep this example in your mind for the broad understanding of the forbearance. So at the right time, help me to recover from the sickness, but I should stop the medicine after recovery. So here the point is, it should have got discontinued at the first sign of opportunity. Okay. So now comes the next one. At the first, now here look at the graphical evidences. So now the chart says that, now here, this is the period of 2008 or 9. So this is the period, now the word is start of forbearance. So here the government has announced the relaxation measure. So see, the economy is in a drop. GDP growth is only nearer to 2.5. So now recently the pandemic crisis has made us to feel that this is not at all a crisis itself. So we know about the scenario. But at the time, 2.5, 3, okay, was the lowermost growth what we had in our economy. So this was the start of forbearance in our economy. And then they look at the point, economy got recovered. From this level, we came to 8 and 9%. It is a very good positive sign in economy. So here the survey argues that the forbearance should have been withdrawn at this place, which means the patient has got recovered. You should have stopped the medicine at this time. So this is the emergency medicine you gave, but you continued with the medicine. This is the argument. Now, if it has not resulted in any side effect, then the survey would not have gone for this argument. But we got the side effects in our economy. So based on that, we got into this argument. Now look here, the forbearance should have been withdrawn here. But when the government withdrew the forbearance, then only at this point, which means here the survey says that by 2010, you should have withdrawn the forbearance. But India took the measure of withdrawing it only between 2014-15. It is a 4 to 5 years of prolonging the emergency medicine will have a huge adverse effect on the economic health of a country. Okay, that is the argument. Now, why they are saying this? Everything we'll see with evidences. But now this is the starting point of criticism. Okay, starting point. Okay, we got multiple things to be covered before reaching the end point of criticism. You understand this? 2008-9, the growth rate is around the level of 2.53 or 3.2 at this level. Then here we came to the level of 8.59. But government took the decision of withdrawing the emergency medicine only at this period, 2015. Here the argues that this 4 years has resulted in or created more side effects or adverse effects in our economy. In the banking sector, because banking sector is directly connected to the credit growth of the economy. When the banking sector gets affected, credit gets affected, all sectors will get affected. All sectors means all people will affected. When the people affected, then goes all the continuation. Okay, the economy, government, people, everything. Now the next one. Here, this talks about the growth in person. Same thing. Okay, same thing already we have seen. Now next one is credit growth. Here look at the point. Growth in the outstanding credit of banks. This is about the growth in the outstanding credit of banks. We had witnessed the drop in the credit growth during this period, 2008-9. So drop in the period. During this time, government introduced the forbearance mechanism. So then it gradually went down. Then it got picked up gradually. At this point of time, you should have withdrawn the forbearance. But what you did? So then you took the decision of withdrawing it only at this point. Because here everything was going fine. At this point, you should have taken the decision, means it would not have had any negative impact on the economy. But you took the decision of withdrawing the support when the credit growth was severely affected. When it got hit, at that time, you took the decision of withdrawing the forbearance. So this is the evidence. So from this slide, what is the understanding you should have is, when the credit growth, when it was improving, at this point, you should have improved. But here the government took the decision of withdrawing the forbearance at this point. So he said, by looking at this point itself, we'll understand that this is a wrong move. So here you will understand why the credit growth got dropped in our economy. Why it dropped. There should be some reason for the drop in the credit growth. All these things and all we will see in the coming segments. So this is the chart which tells about where the forbearance started, where it should have ended, and where actually it got ended in our economy. Okay, now window dressing. Already I've given the explain you what is meant by window dressing. Now, why the window dressing we are going to learn now means window dressing is a thing which was done by many bankers during that forbearance time to ensure that the accounts are proper in a proper manner, so that the accounts are in a looks beautiful. There is no issue. Now comes the argument. Why it is done by the people? Why it is done by the because we got two type of the banks. One is the private banks. One is the public sector banks. Now comes the argument. Sir, what makes the private sector banks to go for the forbearance? Why it is most attractive to those people? So if it is attractive, then why the public sector bank people, they are going for the forbearance? So it is a very critical argument. Kindly understand the argument what I am going to say now. Why the private sector bankers, they went for the forbearances. Now, before getting into those plot, you should have the understanding. What is the normal practice by the bankers during the period of non-forbearance? And what is the normal practice of the bankers during the period of forbearance? For example, if we are having a scenario where there is no forbearance, which means no relaxation. What is the regular practice of the bank is? What the bank will do means, if the companies are viable, if the loans are viable, but when they are asking for restructuring, look at the point, the period where there is no forbearance. What the banks will do? If there is a viable loan, the business is viable, but the companies, they are struggling to make the payment. When they ask for restructuring, the banks may go for restructuring when for the viable entities, and once the things are restructured, they will allocate extra credit, extra capital for the restructured loans. Able to get the point? During the period of non-forbearance, you will restructure only the viable companies. When you do that, for the restructured loans, you will allocate extra capital. You will keep, because you know about the capital adequacy ratio, everything. You will allocate more provision. So, during the non-forbearance period, higher the viability, you will do the concept of restructuring. For restructuring, you will allocate more provisions. But during the period of forbearance, what is the economic logic is, during the period of forbearance, when you restructure the loan, you don't have the need for provision. Look at the difference. Normal scenario, when you restructure the loan, you have to allocate extra capital. You have to make extra provisions. But during the forbearance, it's a relaxation period. Even when you restructure a loan, the particular bank need not allocate extra capital. They need not go for extra provisioning, which means it's a relaxation period. So in the normal period, the banks went for restructuring only the viable loans. But during this period, the banks went for restructuring even the non-viable ones. Are you able to get the plot? This you should understand, students, very clearly. So during the normal period, the banks, they go for restructuring only the viable entities. When they do that also, they have the impact. What is impact? They have to keep extra capital for the extra provisioning done by them. But during the period of the forbearance, it is a relaxation period. What the bank will do is, when they do the restructuring, they need not allocate extra capital. So there is no impact on them. When there is no impact, they won't consider the scenario as a serious one. So what they will do, here they were very, very careful, because they will scrutinize only the viable ones during the non-forbearance period. But during the period of forbearance period, they will restructure even the non-viable ones. So non-viable ones will be restructured by the banks. When they do the restructuring, they did not allocate extra capital. So it makes the bank's accounts look like a proper account. But it is not a proper account. It is a window-dressed account of the banks. You able to get the point? Now comes the argument. Sir, if this is done, what is the advantage for the bank people? Because when the restructuring, let me write here, when the restructuring is done by the bank during the period of forbearance, which means forbearance when it will be given during the economic downturn. So when there is a problem in economy during the forbearance, when the restructuring is done, what the banks will do? They need not go for extra capital. When there is no extra capital, then there is no pressure on the promoters. Promoters, they need not recapitalize. They need not put their own money. Because when there is no need, then what is impact? Where the impact will get diverted? Impact will be diverted on the The people, those who gave credit to the companies, the people, those who bought the company's debt instruments, able to get the promoters when they put the own money. This is the impact on the equity capital. Able to understand the plot? Because first we understand this scenario, students. When the companies are making extra provision for the capital, promoters, they will contribute. So it is their own money. Equity capital is affected. But if there is no provision, the promoters are not affected. They are not putting their own money. So the bank's income prospects are getting affected. This will make the impact on the people, those who are holding the debt securities, or the people, those who gave credit to the companies. Able to understand the logic? So this is the incentive for the private promoters of the banks. Now comes the question, sir, private people, if they are going for restructuring, they got the incentive because they can postpone the risk, because it's a process of risk shifting. But what is the impact on the government bank? Because government bank, the people, those who are the CEOs, they are not the promoters. They are not going to put their own money. Then why the people are window dressing? Because during the forbearance, government has given some relaxation. Why the people are misutilizing the relaxation during the forbearance period? Why the public sector people they are doing? Private sector people for their own profit they are doing, because they are trying to cheat the other, like cheating mechanism. But why the public sector banks they are doing this? Because it is run by the CEOs. They are the government staffs. Why they are doing? Now the argument, survey says that they also have their own incentive. What is the incentive? These people, when the CEO, when they retire, so during their tenure, what was the performance of the bank? It will be reviewed by the people, because the people, those who retire from the government banks, the CEOs, they will be having their own post-retirement benefits. Sometimes they may be appointed as one of the director in a corporate board. So these prospects will be affected for them, because during their tenure, if the bank was having more NPAs, so when they are not having the NPAs, so they will have a clean sheet, have a clean records. During my period, my bank did not suffer. So they will be having more prospects or more avenues for the retirement benefits. So these people are also incentivized. These people are also incentivized. Able to get the logic. So the forbearance is a mechanism given by the government to support the economy, but it was misutilized both by the private people as well as by the government people. That is the starting point of the argument. Then the survey makes the travel. What is the travel? Because of this, what were the impact on the economy? When the people redressed the accounts or restructured the loans, what were the net impact on the economy? Okay, that we're going to see in the next segments. First, you write these things, students. Then let me get into those points. Window dressing, kindly you copy. First, you understand what is forbearance. Forbearance is relaxation. Window dressing is a kind of manipulating the accounts. Okay, look like profiler. Then forbearance enabled window dressing. Forbearance is a regular mechanism. Forbearance enabled window dressing. Why the people are incentivized for window dressing? Private people have got the own incentive, because they normally they did not make any provision. If they do that, they are not having any direct impact. They need not recapitalize. They need not put their own money. Public sector banks, what were the results? So first we are understanding the scenario, because we are not learnt about the impact. We have learnt why the people were convinced to go for the window dressing. Then we learn about what is the impact of the window dressing, what is the impact of the forbearance on the economy. Okay, students, now you understand the structure. Structure is we understood what is forbearance, then what is window dressing, why the window dressing got attracted for the public as well as the private. Then because of this, what is the impact on the economy? Then the survey says that these are the impacts. All these impacts is because of the forbearance what you extended. But the forbearance, when you stopped at the right time, these things would not have happened in the economy. This is the structure what we are learning. Okay. So now comes the next slide. Yes. Now you write, students, without forbearance. For example, a normal economic scenario during recession or during non-recession period, without forbearance, how the banks will act. This is the understanding what you should have. I explained your point. No, while you're writing, you'll understand. If you got an incomplete understanding, so the areas will be filled when you write the points. During the period of non-forbearance, how the banks will act. Now you'll understand what I explained. Because when I explained, sometimes you would have got the understanding, or sometimes you would have confused, because it's the most conceptual one which I explained. Now you'll get the understanding when you write. Okay, look at the point. During the non-forbearance, banks, they don't gain anything, because when they restructure, you have to allocate. Here lies the difference. During the non-forbearance, when you restructure, it's all the structure, you have to allocate extra provisioning. But this is not the case during the forbearance. Okay, this is the place where the problem starts. The understanding will become complete in the next slide. For this, you should have the prior understanding of structure, stressed assets, NPA, these things, you should have the understanding. Survey, you try to develop the conceptual understanding or factual understanding. Then anything which you felt as difficult, basic terms, just you type and then you try to learn the basic things. So automatically both the things will be done for you. So you would have got the understanding as well as you would have got the crux of the survey. Okay. So now you got some idea without forbearance how the banks will act. So without forbearance, the banks will go for restructuring only for the viable entities. This is a very important point you have to remember. If there is no forbearance, we will go for restructuring only for viable entities. But during the forbearance period, you will go for the non-viable entities also. So that is the next slide. Now you will get the complete understanding. Students, this is a very important point. During the forbearance period, restructured assets do not require the same level of provisioning. This is the area where the problem starts. But the same paragraph in the previous slide, I told you that when they are restructured during normal time, they have to allocate more credit. So they won't go for it. If only for viable thing, they will go. But here, even for the unviable one, they will go. What makes them incentivized to do that? So this paragraph. This is the difference what you should have in your mind. Okay, so now we have made the plot ready. So now we are going to understand what are the impacts on our economy. Sir, what is meant by forbearance? I know. What is meant by window dressing? I know. Then why the banks are incentivized to go for the forbearance? Because they need not go for extra capital provisioning. Then what is the incentive for the private bankers, public sector bankers? I got the understanding. Now, sir, what are the side effects? Because you are criticizing forbearance should have been stopped at the particular point. What were the impact of the continuation of the forbearance? So that is the next thing what we are going to learn. Okay. This you understand strongly, students. This is the pre-requirement. Without this, remaining segment could not be decoded by you. Always there will be a missing segment. Okay, you may not be able to understand what I am saying. This paragraph. Then you also remember why the private bankers are incentivized for restructuring during forbearance. Because they are shifting the risk shifting or postponing the risk, like that you can understand. Why the government bankers, they are going, not at the will of government, the individuals, why they are getting incentivized. Now I'm going to tell you the impact, the adverse impact. Now we make a guess before getting into the plot. What may be the adverse impact of this forbearance? What may be the adverse impact of this restructuring? Now restructuring is not a good bad idea. When you are restructuring a viable entity, because it is the flexibility what you are showing, because you are accommodating their risk profile, you are giving them space to perform, because you are giving the permission to the viable one. But for the unviable one, because there may be willful defaulters, there may be fault within the company's board. For those people, when you are restructuring the loan, because it is encouraging the person, okay, who is not good enough, like that. So here the financially the person who is unviable, we are making the economic support. So what are the impact? The survey says that the first impact is it led to zombie lending in our economy. We know about the zombies. Okay, so in this angle they are bringing the economic zombies. So it led to the zombie lending. What is zombie lending in economics? The survey says the companies, those who have lower capital adequacy, interest coverage ratio, which means when you know that with the ability of the returns what they have, the interest coverage when it's lower, these companies don't have the ability to make the repayments. These companies are called as the zombies. They are lent continuously by the bank, even though they are viable, they got restructured. Sometimes there came a scenario where the banks struggle, unable to lend, because already they will be having the pre-existing loan. At that time, how these zombie companies were, zombie means low profile companies, how these companies were supported. Here, look at the example. Here we may have a company A. This company is financially, company is not solvent. So during this time, you are trying to provide a loan to this company, but you are not able to provide because the fundamentals are not supporting. What you may do is, you may give the loan to the group to which this company belongs, which means you are not giving the loan to the particular individual firm, you are giving the loan to the group to which the individual company belongs. From here, the money will come to this bank. This concept is mentioned in the survey as the giving the loan to the individual groups and then evergreening of loans, which means you are not giving the break to the loans lent to them. You are evergreening the loans by giving the loans in a disguised manner. You are not directly giving them loan, but indirectly you are giving. Only the concerned person, they know that they are doing this. Other people, by looking at the records, they won't understand that you are given loan to the another entity, and this entity may be performing according to the standards. So this is the argument. Then the third point is, one is zombie lending, and next one is the evergreening of loans. Next thing is, this has led to the low capital provisioning. So the banks may not be able to absorb the risk, because you know about the Basel norms, you know about the capital adequacy ratio, you should have the adequate tier 1, tier 2 capital, everything, but you are not making provisions. If there is a loss, you may not be able to absorb the loss. Okay, this is another argument which is made in the survey. Then the survey makes that. Now that's a more practical in nature. Imagine that I'm running a company. Now my company has become bankrupt, or the company is in the default zone. Now I want to restructure my loan, but I'm asking the bankers are not willing. I'm not able to do the restructuring. But now I'm going and meeting the concerned bank official in a personal manner. So which means a hidden financial transaction, which means I'm bribing him in that manner. So now he makes the nod. He says that, okay, I'll restructure. So on the behalf of the company, I have taken the initiative. I have brought the financial benefit to my company based on my own effort. But I am a corrupt person. You able to understand? I am a corrupt person. I have bribed another person. Because of my bribing, I have got the permission of restructuring of my loan. But these are the hidden mechanism. Because of that, I become most influential in my company. I'm a corrupt person, I'm not the right person, but I made company to go for restructuring. I have improved the financial fundamentals of my company, so my voice will become more, I will become more dominant in my company. So when I become more dominant, if I'm a director, what I may do is, you know the economic logic. What is the economic logic? a company should have the adequate number of non-promoter directors or the independent directors. So because independent directors or the directors those who are not from the promoter side. Here the companies normally will be having should have more number of independent directors. But when these people, when they become more influential, they brought the people on board, those who are from the promoter side, not the independent, because their voice, because they became more dominant in the company. This has led to the entry of more non-promoter or non-independent directors in the company. So this is given with evidence in the survey. Survey is mentioned before the forbearance, what is the percentage of non-promoter directors in the board. Then after the forbearance, the percentage completely got in negative zone, because the non-promoter or non-independent directors are the people, those who take strong decisions and unbiased decisions in the company. Okay, that is the point which is mentioned in the survey. Then the survey talks about the most important point. What is the most important point? Because of all these activities, the bank would have lost the ability of the credit in the economy, because you have given loan to the wrong company. You have justified your move by evergreening the loans. So you have lost the financial fundamentals. Then you don't have the capital adequacy also. So the credit growth of the bank may be affected. Because of that, the bank may not be in a position to provide credit to the right firms also. Good companies, they may not have avenues to borrow. When they are not able to borrow, investments gets curtailed in economy. When the investments affected, entire economy gets affected. Able to get the point? So where is the root where we are making the connection? So when the companies are not able to get the loan on time, so it will affect the investments of the company. Investment affected. It will affect the growth of the country. So here the root goes to the forbearance, window dressing, all this mechanism. Is it clear? Okay, this is the thing which is argued in the survey. Now, okay, this I explained. Kindly write. So remaining things, whatever I explained, you can copy with the help of the slide. Okay, so this we have seen. Next one is, what is the difference between the yearly and late resolvers, which means the countries which took the decision to address the NPA at the early stage, what were the net impact on those countries? What was the net mean NPA? The mean NPA higher for the yearly resolvers or late resolvers? What may be the answer? The people, those who took the decision to resolve the NPA crisis at the yearly levels, they were having the lower NPAs, but the people who took the decision to resolve the NPA crisis at the later stages. So always the NPAs peaked for those countries. So that is the thing. You can write that. So the mean NPA for yearly resolvers is given in the orange. So mean NPA for yearly resolvers, the countries which is resolving the NPA crisis at the beginning itself. So they got the low level of NPA. But the countries which are acting on the NPA issue at the later stage, which means prolonging the forbearance or permitting the restructuring, for those countries, the mean NPA is always higher. So the mean NPA for yearly resolvers as well as the late resolvers. So it's given, the percentage is given on the y-axis, x-axis, duration, time duration from the years is given, x-axis, So we have the comparison. When it was controlled at the early stage, what was the level? The percentage was lower, but later stage, the percentage is always higher. See here, it got picked up. So here, the government criticized that this is due to the extension of forbearance. High NPAs is due to the extension of forbearance. Now you write this on adverse impact of forbearance on bank performance and lending. This is the final thing, the last segment of this chapter. Adverse impact of forbearance on bank performance and lending. Okay, so now you write the points one by one. First one, these are the adverse impacts. Undercapitalization of banks and zombie lending to the zombie firms. Then evergreening of loans, continuing the loan to the same entities in directly or indirectly. Then deterioration of the quality of the board. Because the people, those who are wrong, they become more influential, they get into the board. These are the adverse impact. This adverse impact is explained in a detailed manner in the coming slides. So for each point, one slide I have given. First one already explained why it led to the undercapitalization, because there is no provisioning of capital for the NPA assets, for the restructured assets. No extra provisioning, because that is a forbearance. That's why, relaxation. Now comes the next one, lending to zombie firms. So these are the points you can directly write in the main examination, students. So very nice points. What are the impact of forbearance in our economy, or zombie or window dressing? Anyway, anywhere you can use. Then look at the point, the interest coverage ratio. The firms, those who have got the low ability to repay the loans, interest coverage. The revenues are not adequate for the interest, which means they are in the inadequate zone. To those companies, lending them repeatedly is called a zombie lending. Financial zombies. Dangerous to the credit system. Okay, in this angle, they named it accordingly. Then evergreening. Evergreening means continuing the loans either to the concerned default entity or to the group to which the entity belongs. So this one is evergreening of loans. So here the blue color is for the individual firms. Individual firms. Green is for the business group. The survey says that because of the starting forbearance period, individual firms, they were on the rise. But here what happened is, indirectly the business group, they were getting the more loans. But to the record, individual firms, they are not getting, it's lower. But actually they are getting loans because the group to which they belonged, they were getting the loans. Indirectly the funds were getting transferred. The things were concealed in the economy. Only when the things were inspected, we are able to find these things. Like that the survey argues. These are the things which happened in our economy. We never went for the scrutiny of those accounts because we thought it is a relaxation period. Relaxation has led to these adverse effects. Next one. Look at this point. I told you, the non-promoted directors. Look at the drop in the percentage. It is very stunning percentage. 3.72 was the percentage of non-promoted directors in the board. It dropped to minus 63 percentage, minus 63, negative. Here it was around 3.72. This is the percentage of non-promoter directors. The person who is not the promoter, he is in the board. But this level got decreased after the forbearance. Actually, we say that non-promoter directors are very crucial for efficient decision making. So this is a negative sign for the company and for the economy. Decrease in the non-promoter directors or declining trend in the non-promoter directors observed because of forbearance. Right statement. That's all. The last slide. So what we have to do is we should have the strong mechanism, legal infrastructure in practical or in place to address these issues in the forbearance, and then the issues which came out because of the extension of the forbearance. So all these things goes back to the practice of continuing the medicine forever, which means converting the emergency medicine into staple diet. Now you know the things which I argued at the commencement of this chapter. I was telling you that emergency medicine was quick in its results, but it should have stopped. But we did not stop. Because of that, we got this level of adverse impacts on our economy. Okay, these are the things which are mentioned in this chapter. Okay, now with this we are finishing this chapter. Now that's all. Okay, this is a conceptual one. Remaining chapters are simple. Chapter 8, chapter 9, chapter 10. 8 is about innovation, more factual. And then chapter number 9 is about the Jan Arogya Yojana. Chapter 10 is about the bare necessities. They are not factual. Easily, okay, we can finish those things. But I will convey whatever things which are discussed in those chapters. Now comes the next one, 8th one. Chapter 8. Chapter 8 is about the innovation trend in India. So what is the innovation trend in India? The chapter is titled in such a way. The title itself says that innovation trend is spiking up in the economy, or it's trending up. But it needs more push. So what is the most important thing regarding the innovation momentum of India is, for the first time, India has got into the top 50 rank in the Global Innovation Index. For the first time, India got into the top 50. Then there we got into the top 50. Is it due to India's innovation input index, or it is due to the India's innovation output index? Because we got two things. So what are those things and all? We will see in the survey. First of all, let's start with the heading. Innovation, it's a trending up, but needs thrust, especially from the private sector. Then the first slide is about India's ranking. You can copy that. Innovation is trending up but needs thrust. Then you can copy this. This slide talks about the India's rank. India got into the top 50 innovating countries for the first time since the inception of the Global Innovation Index in 2007. And then second paragraph tells about India's performance when compared to the Central Asia as well as in the South Asian countries and low middle income countries, where we stand, where is the level.
Okay, so what is the understanding we get from this slide? So India is improving in its innovation parameters. And then for the first time, India got into the top 50 milestone, top 50 rankings. So where we are performing, where we are underperforming, those things and all we are going to cover. We're going to learn from the coming slides. Second one, what is the India's overall expenditure? So what is GERD? GERD is nothing but gross expenditure on research and development. So India's, what is the level of India on the gross expenditure on research and development? So it is 0.65% versus 1.5 to 3% of global average. Global average is this level. India is standing at this level. So India's expenditure on research and development needs more push. That is a prelim exam based statement. You're right. India's GERD is lesser than the global average. So the top 10 economies are compared, which I'll be showing you at the end of the this chapter. When compared to those economies, we are spending only 0.65%. Now let me ask you a question. Okay, you think for a while, few seconds. This expenditure is coming from the government or from the private sector? Who is doing the maximum expenditure in our economy? What is your idea? You think only two choices. Government is doing more expenditure on the research and development in India or the private. If it is asked in examination, private sectors or the business sectors, they are doing more GERD than the government. Or the statement is government is doing more expenditure GERD than the private sectors or the business sectors. The answer is government is doing more expenditure than the private. Private people, they have to do comparatively, they are lagging behind when compared to the top 10 economies of the world, because India is in the top 5. But when compared to the top 10 economies, we are underperforming. Private people, they are not coming forward to spend more on the research and development. And the survey says that it's not only on the private participation. Regarding the research personnel, more number of research personnel we have only in the government side. So private side, private officers, we have less number of research scholars, or the research is carried out in the private side. So in both segments, privates need more improvement. And the survey makes a question. India is a country where you have the more quick access to the capital, equity market you can easily access. Even after having those facilities, tax incentives we have from the government of India, even from having tax incentives, having a conducive mechanism to generate capital through equity markets, why you are not coming forward to put more investments in the research? That is a question asked by the survey, which means why the private people are not coming forward. Without the push from the private side, India cannot improve the ranking in the coming years. Okay, that is the argument placed in the survey. Now we can write. Government is spending almost, but I have told you that in India, government is doing more expenditure. But when compared to the other countries, our government expenditure is 3 times higher than the average expenditure. Which means other countries, privates are doing more expenditure for the research and development. But in India, government is doing more expenditure on the research and development. Completely preliminary exam based statements. It's a purely prelims, not the mains. Previous chapter I told you it's a mains oriented. But all these are the statistical evidences for the prelim examination. In India, government is doing more expenditure, right? But in the global level, government is doing more expenditures across entire countries. No, wrong statement. Private sector is doing more expenditures in the other countries. And here I have given you some numbers. India's number is 56%, the average of other largest economies. And here private is doing only 37, but other countries, private is doing more, 60, 67, 68, more than 61 for the private for other countries. But in India, it's a reverse scenario. Then comes the next one. Okay, so you got some idea about the improvement in ranking. Then you got idea about the government expenditure, GERD. Then about the private sector expenditure. Then comparison with the other countries. Whether are they in those countries, whether the government is doing more or the privates, they are doing more. Then comes the next one. So here the same thing, lagging the same business, about the business. The research personnel is also very lower in the private sector. Not only the investments, the number of research personnel is also lower in the private sector. And this happens, or this is witnessed, even having the tax incentives and well-developed equity market in India. Not very well developed, but you are having the access. Okay, so now we understood that where we stand when compared to the other economies overall, then about the GERD respect to the government and private, then about the research personnel, all this you understood. Now the next one is, this one is simple point. Even having the good access to the equity capital, we are not able to promote the private investments in GERD, which means they are not showing interest. Because research and development is very important for the development of any country. Because this leads to technology. Earlier, resources were dominating. But now, technologies are dominating the world. To come with the technology, you should do more expenditure on research. Otherwise, you will be using the technologies of other people, other countries. They would have made the technology. We will be only the consumers. But we should be the manufacturers. To manufacture, we should have our own ideas. To get our own ideas, we have to do investments. So it's not only the point. So preliminary angle, you think in this way. Main angle, when you are asked to write sometimes when the question, you may join this point. So what is the problem? Here we are having the problem as per the economic survey statement. India is having only this much percentage of the private sector. So this will become a beautiful point in your mains answers. Now, Global Innovation Index. Because we're talking about innovation, we should know about what the index is all about. So what are the two sub-indices? So within the sub-indices, what are the multiple parameters we have? So you should have the idea. Preliminary exam, this segment is important, not the main examination. Global Innovation Index. Now we know that it has got two sub-indices. You understand this? Based on the prelim perspective. Global Innovation Index has got two sub-indices. One is Innovation Input Sub-Index and Innovation Output Sub-Index. Innovation Input and Innovation Output. It is discussed in economic survey. Few years back, we got question about ease of doing business. We got a question in the preliminary examination which asked about the multiple parameters for assessing the country on ease of doing business ranking. Same angle here, you may get question from the GI. So here, what are the multiple sub-indices? You should have the idea. Which are the indices, which are the sub-index belonging to this category? Which are the things which are the pillars which are belonging to this category? You should have the understanding. Here we have the 7 pillars. Look at the point. We got 2 sub-index and 7 pillars. From the 7 pillars, 5 pillars belong to the input category, which means input index is framed based on the 5 pillars. Innovation index is based on the input and then based on the output. Input is based on the 5 pillars. Output is based on the 2 pillars. So in this angle, we have the 2 things, input and output. So what are the 7 pillars is given in the next slide. Kindly remember those 7 pillars. On this point, students, very important, prelim perspective, both the indices has got equal weightage. A statement may be given. Input index has got more weightage than the output index because it has got more pillars. No, we may think logically. It will be having more weightage. No, it is a wrong statement. Both the indices, they have the equal weightage in the computation of overall GII. It's a very important prelim-based statement. Both the indices, they have the equal weightage in the calculation. Okay, both the indices have equal weightage. Now, what are the 7 pillars? Sometimes question may be framed and you may be asked to choose which among the pillars belong to the input index category or which among the pillars belong to the output index category. consider the statements and choose the pillars which belong to the sub-index of input sub-index of Global Innovation Index. So you have to remember. So what are they? So these are the 5 pillars for the input, 5 pillars for the output. Sorry, 2 pillars for the output. Even though they have the equal weightage, these are the 7 pillars. And then what is India's performance with respect to all these 7 pillars is given in the next slide. All these 7 pillars, what is India's ranking? India's performance. So which index we are outperforming, where we have to improve? Okay, all the 5 pillars try to remember, and then 2 pillars you try to remember. Then we are going to learn about which pillar we are performing better and where we are lagging behind. Because we got a question of the same type regarding ease of doing business. Years back, same angle question may be asked in the prelim examination. So you should be in a position to find out the answer. So next one. This kindly copy, students, the different ranks. Knowledge and technology outputs. India's rank is 27. The slide is not visible, so let me read it. You can write technology, knowledge and technology output. India's rank is 27. Or else you can write here. Okay, let me tell you a simple method. You would have copied this, no? So here you can write knowledge and technology. You can write the rank. So it will simplify your time. You can write here in the bracket. Knowledge and technology outputs 27. Market sophistication 31. India's rank is 31. Market sophistication. Then overall global innovation index, we know it is 48. India's rank is 48. So these are the 2 areas where we are performing better. You have to understand, okay, these are the 2 areas where we are lesser than our overall rank. Overall rank is 48, but these are the 2 areas where we are outperforming than our overall rank. 48, but here is 31, 27. So top performing area is the knowledge and technology output is the top performing area. Then comes the remaining areas. So then below the rank, 48 means business sophistication, 55. Business sophistication rank is 55. Human capital and research, it is 60. Human capital and research rank is 60. And institutions rank is 61. And creative outputs, it is 64. Infrastructure rank is 75. But in all the areas, we are not lagging that much, nearer to our mean rank, nearer to the overall rank only. So this gives some idea about where we are outperforming than the overall rank, where we are underperforming than the overall rank. Okay, this you can convert into the prelim based statements, prelim exam based questions. So this is the thing what you should remember. Now comes the next one. When compared to the top 10 economies, economies are in the overall picture, where we are performing better in the Global Innovation Index, where we are underperforming. So the survey says that with respect to the per capita GDP, what we have in our economy, here we are outperforming than the other countries at the same level of India's PPP. So our per capita GDP level, we are better than the innovation index of other country. But when compared to the GDP levels of India, not per capita, when compared to the GDP levels of India, we are underperforming than the other countries of our same levels. You will get the point. So in the per capita GDP per capita, the countries which are having the same level of GDP per capita, there we are better. But when compared to the countries which are having the same level of India's GDP, we are underperforming. Okay, these are two things you have to remember. The same thing, same like the health, the same point I'm saying. You can write India's performance. So India is an outlier in terms of its level of development based on per capita GDP. So countries which are having the same level of per capita GDP, there India's innovation ranking is better. But that's not the case, because here the survey argues that is it due to population? Population makes India to come to the low level of per capita. So there you are showing, but survey makes a conclusion. What is the conclusion? No, it is not due to the population. So even because the performance is due to the India's overall performance. So this is the point, per capita GDP, and this is due to the overall GDP. You know about the overall GDP and the per capita and all, okay, based on that you understand. Divided by the population, this is not by the population. So this is the outlier. Here we are outperforming, here we are underperforming. This chapter completely in the prelim mode. You have to remember multiple things. With this we are finishing, students, this chapter 8. And this divergent performance, because here we are performing better, here we are underperforming. This divergent performance indicates or tells India that don't be complacent, you are doing good, because we got miles to go. Because only when compared to the GDP levels of other country, you are not faring better. You are underperforming. So don't become complacent. Okay, that is the conclusion of the survey. So this is about the chapter 8. So now, yes, one more thing I failed to mention. So you know about the innovation means, you know about the trademarks, you know about the people, those who are filing for the patents, everything. The survey says that in India, when you take the number of patents filed by the residents of India, residents are not filing more patents. Only the non-resident Indians, NRIs, only they are filing more patents in India. But global level, that is not the global average. Global level, residents are filing more, but for India, non-residents are filing more patents in India. It's a very important prelim exam based statement. So when the question is asked, in India, residents are filing more patents than the non-residents, it is a wrong statement. So what is the right statement? In India, non-residents are filing for more patents than the residents. That is the right statement. But when you compare the patent scenario with the trademark, what is the scenario? In trademark picture, the residents are filing for more trademark than the non-residents. So these 2 points you should remember, students. 2 important statistical points mentioned in the survey. In the patent segment, non-residents are filing for more patents. But in trademark, residents are filing for more trademarks. But the survey says that a country should focus on bringing more residents on the table. Residents should file for more patents as well as the trademarks. Now, non-residents, when they file, it is not going to be more rewarding to the economy of the country. Okay, that is the argument placed in the survey. Okay, so trademark and then the patents. What is the scenario? Okay. Okay. Now, India's innovation performance versus top 10 economies. Top 10. I told you that India's rank is 48. We are clear. But in the top 10 economies where India may be performing when compared to top 10 economies. For example, India is in the top 10. So many countries are in the same way. India is in 48. Are they in the same level as 48 or 49 or 47? Or whether they are better performing than India? Are you able to understand the crux of the question? So are the other economies in the same level? Are they performing same like India? Or whether they are better than India or worse than India? What is the answer? India is India is little bit ahead of Brazil. That's all. Remaining countries, they are performing better than the India. That is the point which is mentioned. So although India performance in line with its level of development, but India ranks second lowest after Brazil in the top 10 economies of the world, which means India has got more road to be traveled in this particular segment. In innovation, we have to make more, we got more miles to go. And then the survey actually, because I not brought that point in the slide, but you just have an idea in your mind. The survey says that China actually last 15 years, they have made rapid strides in innovation. For them, innovation is the ultimate goal of their economy. They are acting in that way. China actually is performing far better than India. You should have this understanding. For example, you may have a statement because it's a very significant point. China performs lower than India in the innovation ranking. No, it's outperforming by India in many parameters because that is the focus, that is the importance given by China for innovation. So you should have the understanding. All these are the preliminary exam-based statements. Have you copied this? China and UK, they perform much higher than for the level of development. Now look at the point. Brazil, and here we have India. So lower than India, we have the Brazil, the top 10 economy. Remaining countries, see, China is at this level, China is here. When compared to the level of development, so China is here. And then, okay, Italy, Japan, Canada, France, Germany, US, UK, all the other countries are at this level. But look where we are, which means we are saying that for the first time we got into 50, we may feel proud about our achievement, but we should understand where the other countries are. So we got more miles or long road to travel. So we have more to be accomplished in this segment. That is the thing which is mentioned in the survey. Okay. So then we are finishing and we are getting into the next chapter. Chapter is the chapter number 9. Chapter number 9. So what is the entire crux of the chapter number 8? Chapter number 8, we talked about the innovation. Then where India is performing, top 50, we got into the 48 for the first time. Then what is the expenditure level? Expenditure level is 0.65%, but other countries they are doing from 1.5 to 2.5 or 3%. Then what is the government level of expenditure? It is higher in India, but that's not the case with the other economies. And then what is the level of the private expenditure need to be improved? Then we understood about the research personnel also is lower in the private segment. This happens even amidst the much incentives given to the private players in India. Then we learned about the innovation sub-index, input and output, then about the 5 pillars and 2 pillars, and what is India's performance, and then what is India's level of performance with respect to India's level of GDP. Then what is the level of India's performance with respect to India's per capita. Per capita level we are okay, but compared to the level of GDP what we have, we are underperforming. So according to the level of GDP, we should be performing better. That's the case with the other countries like China, Italy, Germany, France, UK, US, Canada. But we are level little bit higher than the Brazil. So this is the conclusion. And then that's all, okay. So we got more miles to go in the innovation index. With this, we are finishing the chapter number 8. What is the time? Okay, so I think only we got 4 more minutes more. So if we take, yesterday also session went beyond more than nearer to 3 hours. So let me stop with this. So next session 9, 10 and then remaining things, because I thought of finishing the volume 1 by today. So I would have got into the questions. So it will give a complete feel. But I'm not able to do that. So the volume 1 continuation, only 2 chapters. But it is a chapter which consumes less amount of time that we'll do in the next session, which will be scheduled on next week. Then along with that, we'll be having the learning about the volume 2, where we'll be having more focus in the prelim perspective. So here we got more understanding the process reforms, forbearance, everything on the mains things. So I took them like a class. But this one, you would have witnessed that the chapter number 8, innovation, we came across many statements based on the prelim perspective. The same angle, we got many more things in the volume 2. And moreover, here I showed you questions in the mains perspective in the volume 1. But in the volume 2, I'll show you many questions in the prelim perspective. So you'll have some understanding. So that we'll do in next class. So with this, I'm finishing my session, students. And then the class gets over. Those who got doubts alone, you can sit back and you can ask your doubts. For others, the class is over. Thank you, students. Thank you all. We'll meet on next week. Thank you all. Thank you all. Bye, students. Thank you. Arpit, you raised the hand. Yes, you can ask.
Sir, this ex ante accountability. Sir, on one place, you told that the officer or the person should not be too much accountable for his discretion work which he has done. But here you are telling that this will strengthen the ex ante accountability. How these two things are?
They are saying that if it's not like we are accepting the false practices of a wrong person. So I have shown you the example as a government e-marketplace. E-marketplace, when the things are put on the website, sometimes the transaction done by the person may be higher than the market price. But there we'll accept because it is in a transparent mechanism. So here, if I am an officer, if I have taken a decision, my decision, what I have taken will be transparent across the entire company. The people will come to know immediately after my decision, I have taken this decision. So which will help me to change my decision or everything immediately, because it is not a mechanism where the things are less transparent. So here ex ante transparency will lead to more accountability and it will rectify or it will minimize the errors. Okay, that in that angle you can understand. Is it clear, Arpit?
Okay, sir. Yes, sir. And sir, please share in our group, that Telegram group for crash course, mains crash course, both the volumes of
mains crash course. Yes, we'll do it. So once the session
because
is
it is not shared, sir.
It will be shared. I have not given. So once I have given, okay, our institute will share it in your crash course group. Sure, you not worry about it. I'll ensure it, Arpit. Don't worry. Whatever points I mentioned, all the points will be shared with you. Fine. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So the books also, like volume 1 and volume 2 is not shared.
Yesterday, one more student
that
also.
PDF, yeah.
Yes, it will be shared along with this. By next week, we got the class, no? Along once the class gets over or before the class, I'll ensure that these things and all will be shared after the class. But that I'll try to do it before the class. So I'll communicate to our team. Okay, don't worry.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Arpit. Fine. Okay, students. I think you don't have any doubts. Thank you. See you on Monday or whenever. Okay, this class gets scheduled. Thank you, students. Thank you all. Bye.
Recording stopped.